Okay, and then so you have bait for all different kinds of fishing. I mean, obviously you don't use the same bait or the same size hooks. You need a larger hook for a larger fish, etc.
Correct.
Okay, and you have pretty much all of that. What are some of these that you have here?
Well, some of them that we have, again, the spinner baits, these right here, will be for your bass. You can use some of them on crappies. The hooks, again, a variety. The smaller the hook, usually is for your brim. The larger the hook, usually for your bass or your catfish. And that's another thing I do. We do get a lot of ladies that come in here and they're not really familiar with, oh, how do I set my pole up? Mm-hmm. So we turn around and, well, if you're interested in getting them, I'll hook it up for you. So we set the certain people's hooks up for them, and rig their lines and whatnot for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good, because that helps.
It does
if you have a woman or even a man or a young person that wants to do it and doesn't know, sometimes they hate to ask, and so that's great.
Absolutely.
That's great. And behind us here, we have more of your worms, big dog baits, yeah. And they're local?
Yes, they are.
That's awesome. And what's the difference between their kind of baits? And tell us a little bit about the big dog.
Well, the big dog bait, he has his own molds. So he sits there and he uses the gel, the glitter, the scent, everything. And he does do tournaments, and he sells what he uses. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like about his bait, is that you're guaranteed to catch something as far as I'm concerned, because I haven't gone out there without using that and not catching anything. I love it.
That may be the secret to my success.
Absolutely.
This one is really cool. I saw this one over here. The hook actually goes into, so it's not sticking out of the lure, and this, of course, attracts it. But there's a little, tell me, while I'm doing this, tell me what this is.
You have a tungsten weight with a skirt, and then you have the bait and the hook. And what he did is he rigged it to be weedless, and then when the tungsten hits the bait or the skirt, it makes a sound under the water.
That's pretty cool. What do you use crickets for?
The crickets pretty much, just be surprisingly, a lot of the sales do come in for their pets. They're iguanas.
Oh, very cool.
They're geckos.
Yeah.
They're frogs.
Yeah,
right.
That's cool.
But we do sell them for bass fishing, brim fishing mainly, and the brim just love them.
I bet. This is a rod and reel, and she was even showing me how to hold it. I thought this was cute down here because it had this thing, but she says it's an arm, like a wrist rest, so that your wrist isn't taking all of the brunt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When your fish hits it, sometimes it just takes it, and you don't want to hold it that way, and just say, and you feel like, oh, and break it. And what you're going to do is use your arm as the stability to brace it, so you don't break your pole or hurt your wrist.
Cool. And you've got Shakespeare. I've got an ugly stick myself.
Absolutely.
And a ladyfish. I have a ladyfish that's pink. All kinds.
Yeah, we have Abu Garcia, Zebco.
Zebco, that's a good one, yeah.
And all these combos, they are combos. They all come lined with line, ready to go. All you have to do is get your hook and whatever you want to set it up with for whatever type of fishing.
And this right here, you belly up to the bar, and what do you have for us today?
Oh, back here, this is where our live bait is.
Oh, and you can't go fishing without bait, especially live bait.
Absolutely.
So what kind do we have in here?
Right now, we have large minnows. Okay, we have medium shiners, large shiners.
Large shiners. So they can just come in and belly up to the bar, give you their order, and you'll fix them up. See, friends, when you come to Floral City, there's always a place to sit down, hang out, chat with friends. You just never know what you're going to find in Floral City. Well, friends, here we come to the end of another show. Something I would like to touch on today while we're here in Floral City is this beautiful house that sits behind me. It was built by George W. Higgins back in the late 1800s. Mr. George Higgins was a master builder, and he built a lot of the churches and the buildings that we have in Floral City, and a lot of the beautiful historic homes. He had his own style of architecture, which I'm sure you'll be able to see when you come to Floral City through all of the beautiful places we have here. An interesting little story about this house. Mr. Higgins built it, and he lived in it until his wife passed away. He built another house right next door, and he lived in that. he sold this house to a Mr. Zimmerman. And at one time, he was the clerk of the county courts here in Citrus County. Actually, way back before Floral City was Floral City, and there was a little town called Manfield. Manfield and Inverness were in a run to see who was going to be the county seat. Of course, some wanted it Manfield, some wanted it Inverness. Well, evidently Manfield lost. And so before anybody could change their minds, they went over and they picked up everything and they stole the courthouse from Manfield. And they brought it all the way back through the forest to Inverness. Now the funny thing about this story is, Mr. Zimmerman, who was the clerk of courts, decided he didn't want to move to Inverness. He didn't think the county seat should be there. So he proceeded to sit in his chair. And the one gentleman turned around and asked what he was going to do with him. And the sheriff says, well, you just pick him up and put him in the wagon. And that's what they did. They picked Mr. Zimmerman up, chair and all, put him in the wagon, carried him all the way over to Inverness, where they made him stand in the courthouse and declare that Inverness was the county seat. So there's all kinds of stories here in Floral City. There's lots of little things, history quips. Anybody you find here will pretty much be able to tell you something that nobody else knows in Floral City. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to thank Michelle from Floral City Bait and Tackle and Outfitters. I would also like to thank Julie and Joe and the girls at Head to Toe by Julie and Joe for being so gracious as to have us into their business and show us around. Friends, Floral City is an amazing place. It's a place that's quaint and quiet and laid back and absolutely beautiful. I invite you to come out and see for yourself the beauty that we have in Floral City and feel the kindness and the forgiving spirit that is here. I would like to thank you all for continuing to support this show. I would like to thank the Floral City Merchants Association, the businesses, and I don't want to forget WYKE-TV. Without them, this show would not even be a possibility. So thank you guys. Come back again and see us. We will have another episode coming up soon, so stay tuned, and you never know what you're going to find in Floral City.